So I'm going to go ahead and take the money and run, teacher.
I win every fight.
Rookie revolution.
This is a game!
It's absolutely crazy to say, even with the 20 episode number, but we have yet another season in the books. Spies, Lies, and Allies was definitely a roller coaster, but do I mean that in a good or bad way? What are some of the standout moments? What rookies should be casted again? Who had the most impressive political game? As always, I will be going through everything and in the end giving out awards and a grade. I have a lot of feelings on this season and I will not be going easy on it. So without further ado, let's get started on this Rookie Revolution, The Challenge, Spies, Lies, and Allies review and awards. So first, I will be reviewing the twist, the theme, the editing, and the story. Let's start with the theme and the format, which was very unchanged from last season. It honestly could have been called Double Agents 2, which is not a good thing. The game started off with half Americans and half internationals, which of course was a partnership thing. One international and one American on each team. If your team wins the daily, you form the agency, with the rest of the house voting one team into elimination, in which the agency picks two people to face them in the elimination. The kicker is that this can be any individual, male and female. They do not have to have been on a team. You can have one person you barely talk to be your partner in elimination. Also, if you win an elimination, returning is the infiltration, in which you can pick a brand new partner. The format changed halfway through, but I will get to that in a minute. Now, the main theme again was spy based and being detectives, which in all honesty was cringier than last season. Now, I'm sorry if this offends you, but I'm pulling out the big guns. The spy theme and TJ being the handler.
I'm their handler, TJ Lavin. My name is TJ Lavin, and I'm your handler.
Is almost as cringy as Scott's tots from The Office.
Now, I can't pay for your college, but you don't have to go to class to be in class. Online courses are a viable option to a traditional college experience. The best way to access those courses is with your own personal laptop, which is rendered useless without batteries, and I have one for each of you. Hold on, they're lithium.
I know that's extreme, but I'm sorry, the show doesn't need all these corny thematics. It doesn't need teams to be called cells. It doesn't need to call bricks and challenges bombs. Don't get me started on the explosions. I'm saving more of this talk later on in the video, but the theme with Spies is just not off to a good start. Now, with the story, this season had very few interesting storylines to keep you hooked. I mean, some of the ones that lasted the whole season was Nani and Casey, which is not game related, and actually thinking about it, it's pretty much the only storyline that had more than 2 episodes of focus. Everyone hating Amber actually, I guess, can count, but what else? I mean, the most interesting one was Josh vs. Bestie, and they knew it was somewhat interesting, so they stretched it from 1 episode to 2 episodes. The biggest one for the first half, though, was the Big Vet Alliance, which was just a snooze.
Vets basically have a truce or a pact and a promise.
The veteran truce is simple. Do not vote for a veteran until all available rookies are taken off the table.
For the twists, we have the format changing from pairs to 3 teams, or excuse me, cells, midway through the season, basically making it Cutthroat 2, which lots of fans have been asking for a long time, but not like this. The thing is, it looks bad changing the format halfway through the way that they did. It looked like production was giving up. Although it did kind of help this season, it's just disappointing production cannot seem to figure out beforehand what would be the best format like they used to be able to. The other twist was in the final elimination, that after Logan went home, they had 2 more eliminations with everyone being eligible, which was somewhat interesting, but kind of forgettable. Which lastly leaves us to the editing of the season, and last season, especially during eliminations, they would always cut a million times, make it slow-mo, pan out too much, and I'm happy to say it improved. About 5%. It's still pretty hard to follow eliminations compared to how it used to be, but at times it did improve. It's just the hall brawls and the physical eliminations that they over-edit. The episodes as a whole are better edited than last season, and the dailies I feel are also better, but it's still not nearly as simple as it used to be, which just leaves us wanting something more. And I forgot to mention the house, which I will leave short and simple, was beautiful. It's the best house since Final Reckoning. Producers got that right. Let's now move on to the best and the worst daily challenge of the season. For the best daily challenge, I debated between Sea Cave Recon and Boom Raiders, and even though I really loved Sea Cave Recon, I have to give it to Boom Raiders, and the way this daily worked is pretty much a three-way hall brawl with a twist. You each run down the three-way trench, stealing a stick of dynamite from the other team. First to collect 20 sticks of dynamite wins. I think a big reason I like this daily so much is because it's a throwback to T-Bone and Dugout. I also just love headbanger dailies. With the aspect of having to sabotage other teams, it seemed like everyone's problems came to a head. Kyle making a huge mistake, causing an argument with CT, and actually causing an argument with everyone.
How do you make a mistake? He can't read colors?
CT, I trust him as far as I can throw him, and guess what? I can't even lift him up.
Tori, fresh off of being stolen, was pissed beyond control, and it was just funny to see her talk so much crap and get humbled by Casey.
You bitches don't want to see this! You don't! Casey knocks Tori down. When you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and that's why, Tori, your ass got knocked out.
I don't know, this daily just delivered, and in the end, the team with 3 players won. Over half of the dailies on this season can qualify for the worst, either by being too complicated, boring, or just a mixture of the two. What the show does is get badass looking dailies for the trailer, but when it comes time for the show, they just don't stack up well. So with all of that considered, I decided to go with turning agents, and the way this daily worked is you are strapped to the top of a car and you have to memorize a code while it's doing donuts. That's it. The thing is, how is us watching people memorize something entertaining? I get the whole donuts thing, but here's what I think. This daily probably could have been very fun if they leaned into the whole goofy nature of it, but them trying to make it into an action movie just made it boring. Moving on to the best and worst eliminations, starting with the best, I narrowed it down to Seek and Destroy and Down to the Wire. This season actually had very good elimination games, but I think the one I have to give it to is Seek and Destroy, played by Ashley and Priscilla. And the way this elimination worked is you have 8 different colored tires dug under sand that you have to place on a pole, then you have to memorize a light sequence, which is the order you place your tires. So you have to take them all down and place them in the correct order again. I am a big fan of eliminations that require just pure and utter heart, and I feel this elimination had that down.
It is tiring. Sand is heavy. Everything on my body is getting tired.
This is one of the more difficult eliminations, I would say. I mean, memorize digging and digging only to pick up heavy tires is no joke, and the 2 competitors here both gave it their all, and it was phenomenal to watch. Now for the worst elimination, we have rope burn, and this is a good example of why I hate the serious spy themes that they are going for. This game worked as a tug-of-war on a platform, a very simple best of 3, except the rope is lit on fire. Now, because of this, the rules stated that you couldn't tug the rope because it was too dangerous.
And the one rule that they don't want to say is that we weren't allowed to pull the rope. I wasn't allowed to pull even though you saw.
You can't tug the rope on tug-of-war. You basically just had to wiggle it around. And it doesn't even make sense. The whipping it around just puts the fire out instantly. It looked ridiculous and it was irritating to watch. This was a good matchup of Corey vs. Logan, and they pretty much just wasted it. Now, with this final, I am actually pretty pleased with it. I felt it was very entertaining to watch and wrapped up the season well. The problem is, compare this with the finals 10 seasons ago, and this is just easy. Don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly difficult. I mean, it's just easier now than how it used to be. Now, even with that, I will say it was overall a good final. I'm not going to go on and on about it, but here are a few things. I don't love how they reuse puzzles. The reason CT's purple cell won so quickly is because of how CT had done puzzles like that prior. I also thought the ending being 1 checkpoint to decide everything was a bit underwhelming. I have been enjoying the mid-final eliminations, and this one did not disappoint, even with the dramatics of Casey vs. Nani, and the end twist where the winners decided to share any money with the runner-ups was interesting. But other than all that, there's not much else I want to cover. I have nothing to say about this reunion. I actually think it might have been the worst one of all time. Most memorable thing was Emmy performing Alien. Only grain of entertainment was Amanda. This is probably what you've all been waiting for, the good and the bad. Well, let's start with the bad. Again, 19 episodes on a season that lacks interesting content does not work. 16 episodes is the most this season should have had. The last thing you want is to be able to call this show boring, and this season made me think that at times. I hate to say that. As I mentioned, the spy theme was cringe, and it goes away from what made the show so special. The show used to be authentic, which you can't really say anymore, unfortunately. Another big problem is the formats. It seems like the show is half committing to a theme and just not giving it everything it has, which doesn't need to be the case. The show needs to go back to its simple roots to survive, which actually brings me to a good thing. I applaud the show for taking risks, and it's always good to do that. It just makes me worried that this is where it will end. Without talking too much more, I'll go into my last topic, which is the Superlative Speed Round Awards. For the first award, we have the Female Rookie of the Season, with the nominees being Emmy, Priscilla, and Michelle. And the winner is Priscilla. She came to play. I respect her moves so much in the season, and she single-handedly made the biggest wave splitting up the Bet teams. She clearly has a great mind for the game, and I cannot wait to see her come back.
Let the games begin. For
the Male Rookie of the Year, the nominees are Ed, Logan, and Emmanuel. This is completely personal preference, but we have Ed. I loved his old school energy, and he was witty and could compete. The other two just came off as a little bit inauthentic. That's just my personal opinion, though.
At least for me personally, I feel like it's hard to open up and really talk game to people because I have a lot of good ideas and I like to bounce them off, but sometimes I don't get a lot of feedback, and I hate when that happens. I almost feel like I'm talking to myself sometimes here. It's tough.
For the most annoying player, the nominees are Tori, Fessy, and Devin, with the winner being Devin. I really just don't like this personality, guys. My biggest problem is he gets annoyed when things don't go exactly his way. He is shocked that he isn't a champion when he doesn't train for the show, and he just has an ego of 10 Fessies, which is ridiculous. I just don't see the charm of Devin. Most entertaining goes to Huey. I mean, come on, I think they should cast more people who are deathly afraid of everything they do on the show. It brings great entertainment.
Oh my God, I don't want to do it now! Please, let me out!
The Needs Another Shot award goes to Michaela, because I am telling you, she will surprise us all when she comes back. And the player of the season goes to CT. This man is now a 5-time champion, and no one ever thinks to take a shot. It's masterful gameplay, and I just don't know how he does it. This review was hard for me to make. It was hard for me to find the motivation to talk about this season. I honestly just didn't enjoy it that much, and I feel like this makes me sound like I'm not a fan, which is not the case. I challenge you to find a person who has watched every season more times than me. It's just something about how this season was. The show needs to find a way to get back to its roots. It really does. The ratings keep going down, and if the show listens to its fans though, I am sure it can climb right back up. But the score for today is going to be a D and a 2.8 out of 10.